Looking for a way to support the MTGGoldfish.com YouTube channel and website? Well, pick up a Scoops Hero of Jank playmat from MTGGoldfishmerch.com today. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Brewer's Minute. So, as you know, it is pre-release weekend for War of the Spark, which means it is time for our traditional modern combo video. So today, we have 7, pretty janky, I guess, modern combos from War of the Spark, and we're going to talk about them, see what crazy things we might be able to do with the new set in the modern format, and like usual, we don't have any deck lists today. So if you have some ideas of how we can put these combos to use and actually make them playable or at least fun, make sure to let me know in the comments. So a quick reminder before we break down 7 modern combos from War of the Spark. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy Brewer's Minute in general, it would be amazing of you if you could take a second, click that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk some modern combos from War of the Spark. So kicking things off, number 7 on our list, we have Dreadhorde Butcher. So Dreadhorde Butcher has been getting some hype for killing quickly in Standard, where you can get in some damage, grow it, maybe pump it, and then sacrifice it to something like Thud to kind of double up the damage. Well, in Modern, things get even crazier. It is possible to kill your opponent on turn 2 with Dreadhorde Butcher and the right hand in the Modern format. So here's the plan. Dreadhorde Butcher, 2-mana 1/1, has haste. It grows by +1/+1 whenever it deals combat damage to our opponent or a planeswalker. And then when it dies, we deal damage equal to its power to any target. So step 1 is getting Dreadhorde Butcher on the battlefield on turn 1. So for this, we need a land, preferably a fetch land. That's important. We'll get to why in a minute. Along with Simian Spirit Guide. So like fetch land, crack it, get a land, Simian Spirit Guide, Dreadhorde Butcher, attack in, grow our Dreadhorde Butcher to a 2/2 and get in 1 point of damage. And then on turn 2, we need Mutagenic Growth, Become Immense, preferably another fetch land, Thud, and maybe one more free spell to stock our graveyard, because if we can Mutagenic Growth and Become Immense, that's going to give our Dreadhorde Butcher +8/+8, which is going to bring it up to a 10/10, and 11/11 if it damages our opponent. The thing is, we need Become Immense to be 1 mana, so we do need 5 cards in our graveyard, which is why the fetch lands, the Mutagenic Growth, those cards are really important. But if we can pump it up that big, hit our opponent, and then use our last remaining mana to Thud it post-combat, that kills our opponent on the spot. Turn 2 Dreadhorde Butcher kill. Game over. Gotcha. Which brings it in at number 7 on our War of the Spark combo list. Moving on to number 6 on our list, we have Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, our new Laboratory Maniac Planeswalker. And Jace was a fine value card, drawing you some cards, maybe winning the game in the late game if you ultimate. The thing we're abusing here is the ability that's like Laboratory Maniac, where if you draw a card while no cards are in your library, instead of losing the game to milling yourself out, you'll win the game. So how can we turn this into a combo piece? And the trick here is Leveler. So Leveler comes into play, it exiles your library from the game. Also happens to be right on curve with Jace. There you just Jace, turn 4, turn 5 Leveler, exile your library. And the key thing here is while this combo existed with Laboratory Maniac, you also need to draw a card to actually win the game. Jace takes care of that all by itself. Jace can plus to draw a card. So turn 4 Jace, turn 5 Leveler, before we activate Jace for the turn, take up Jace to draw a card, instant win. It's like Splinter Twin, really janky Splinter Twin, but still, it is a 2-card I win the game combo. Of course, if things go wrong, it's bad. You exiled your library, you're probably going to lose the game, but when things go right, it's a 2-card I win the game combo, which brings it in at number 6 on our combo list. Moving on to number 5 on our list, we have everyone's favorite boar god, Ilharg the Raise Boar. So Ilharg, it's kind of like a Through the Breach. When it attacks you, you get to put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, bounce it back to your hand the next turn, has a god ability, etc., etc., etc. So you're probably thinking, well, why would I use Ilharg in Modern when I could just play Through the Breach? Isn't Through the Breach better? And in general, the answer is yes. Through the Breach is better in most cases, but Ilharg allows for some combos that don't exist with Through the Breach. So one of the sweet combos with Ilharg is Rakdos the Defiler, and this is kind of combo 2. It's a bonus combo. So the trick to abusing Ilharg is taking advantage of things that have some sort of negative ability when it attacks. So like Rakdos, for example, when it attacks, we gotta sack half of our non-demon permanents. That's pretty brutal. The good news is, when it hits our opponent, they have to sack half of their non-demon permanents, which no one really plays demons, so it's gonna be just half of their permanents. That's a huge swing. Well, Ilharg puts Rakdos into play already attacking, so we get to skip that first trigger. We don't have to sack half of our permanents, but when Rakdos hits our opponent, they get sack half of their permanents, and then we bounce Rakdos back to our hand to do it all again the next turn. But while sacking half of our opponent's permanents is nice, the more devastating combo is Ilharg the Raised Boar with Medomia the Ageless. So Medomia, when it deals combat damage to our opponent, we get to take an extra turn. The problem is, Medomia can't attack an extra turn, so you can't just go infinite attacking with Medomia. However, with Ilharg, the same trick we were just talking about, we can get around this, because Medomia comes into play from Ilharg already attacking, so we could just go infinite. Literally, an attacking Ilharg with Medomia goes infinite in turns. We hit our opponent with Medomia, we get an extra turn, it goes back to our hand. On our extra turn, we attack with Ilharg, we put in Medomia, we hit our opponent with Medomia, take an extra turn, goes back to our hand. Do that until our opponent is dead. So 2-card infinite turn combo with Ilharg and Medomia the Ageless. Moving on to number 4 on our list, we have Narset, Parter of the Veils, a value planeswalker with a twist. So Narset, the big deal here is it has an ability where each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn, which allows for some really sweet Notion Thief style tricks. So you probably see Notion Thief with like a Wheel of Fortune to wipe everyone's hands. It's brutal. The difference is Narset, while not quite as powerful with the combo of wheeling away hands, it is way more resistant. Notion Thief dies to a gut shot. Narset, it's a planeswalker with 5 loyalty. So picture this. You play a Narset, and you play something as innocent as a 1-mana Burning Inquiry, where each player draws 3 cards, discards 3 cards at random. Well, with Narset out, we're going to draw 3, discard 3 at random. Our opponent is just going to draw 1 and discard 3 at random, which turns Burning Inquiry into essentially a 1-mana Modern Legal Hymn to Torok. And that doesn't even consider going even further with Narset, using like Wheel of Fate or Dark Deal, things that make the players discard their entire hand, then usually draw 7 cards or the same number of cards, something like that. Well, in this case, we discard our hand, draw 7, life is good. Our opponent discards their hand, they draw 1 with a Narset out. And these cards are cheap and efficient. In theory, you can go like Birds of Paradise 1, Narset 2, Dark Deal 3, wipe the hands down to 1 card. That is absolutely brutal. So Narset, being able to just destroy opponents' hands, comes in at number 4 on our list. At number 3 on our list, we got a simple one. Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi, a 5-mana instant, puts 9 +1/+1 counters on a land. The land becomes a creature, it's legendary, etc., etc., etc. Well, how can you kill someone by putting 9 counters on a land? And the answer here, really straightforward. Inkmoth Nexus. If Inkmoth Nexus is the land, we're going to have a 9/9 Inkmoth Nexus, but it still has its ability, so we can pay 1 and make it a 1/1, and that +1/+1 is going to make it a 10/10 flying infect creature, which means a single hit from an Inkmoth Nexus poisons our opponent out of the game. So putting your Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi counters on an Inkmoth Nexus, 1 to activate it, 1-shot kill, which, yeah, it's a bit of mana, but that is still pretty impressive, even in a format like Modern, which brings it in number 3 on our list. Moving on to number 2 on our list, we have another Planeswalker, Teferi Time Raveler, and this is one of my favorite kind of combos. So Teferi, it does a bunch of things, cast things with flash, bounce things to draw cards. The big part of the combo, though, is a static ability where each opponent can only cast spells anytime they can cast a sorcery, and this allows us to just lock our opponent out of the game. We've played some similar locks before with Possibility Storm, with Knowledge Pool, and here's the trick, essentially. So what Possibility Storm and Knowledge Pool do is when the opponent casts a spell, it's going to put a trigger on the stack and exile that spell, and the trigger is going to say, well, you can cast another spell. With Possibility Storm, it's from the deck. With Knowledge Pool, it is from exiled under Knowledge Pool. Well, because there is a trigger on the stack, it's not sorcery speed. If anything's on the stack, it's instant speed, which means Teferi says, no, you can't do that, which means with Teferi plus Possibility Storm or Knowledge Pool, opponent is just hard locked out of casting any spells from their hand. They cannot cast spells, which means we should be able to win the game pretty easily, which puts Teferi in at number 2 on our list. Speaking of locking people out of the game, let's move on to number 1 on the list, Karn the Great Creator. So Karn the Great Creator, it does a bunch of things. The big deal here is it's a Stony Silence for opponents. Activated abilities on artifacts our opponent control can't be activated, which means it's good against like Affinity or Hardened Scales or a random Mana Rock, whatever artifact our opponent happens to have. But what if we could turn all of our opponents' things into artifacts? And we can! Mycosynth Lattice. So if we can get down Karn with a Mycosynth Lattice, everything's an artifact, which means our opponent can't activate abilities on any of their stuff, and that's even more devastating than you might think, because technically, tapping a land is an activated ability, which means if we can get down a Karn with a Mycosynth Lattice, our opponent can't tap lands for mana. They can't activate any other abilities, but they have no mana. It's like a one-sided Armageddon, except our opponent can't draw and play more lands. They're just locked out of mana, lands forever, also shuts down Mana Rocks. It doesn't affect us at all. It is pretty bonkers. So if you want to lock people out of playing Magic, Karn Mycosynth Lattice, really sweet new way of doing it. You can even play Mycosynth Lattice in your sideboard, tutor it up with Karn, cast it. So basically, once this combo is assembled, unless your opponent has you dead on board already, they're not going to be able to win because they just can't cast any of their stuff. They're locked out of playing any spells because they have no mana, which brings Karn, the Great Creator, alongside Mycosynth Lattice in at number 1 on our modern combo list. And that's been our Brewers Minute for the week. That has been our 7 modern combos from War of the Spark. So again, which of these combos do you like the most? What deck list do you think could take advantage of them? Have you tried to build around these combos? What other combos are there in the set that could be sweet in modern or whatever format you like? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.